Hey YouTube, thanks for joining us on this soggy Maryland day. We're going to be taking a look at this Foxbody, and I'm going to be pointing out a few areas that you want to look at if you plan on buying a third generation Mustang. We're not really going to be covering anything dealing generally with buying used cars. We're just going to be looking at some specific things dealing with the Foxbody. So let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so again, we're not really going to go over anything motor related, running wise, because that's a totally separate issue, but we're going to look at some things dealing with the frame of the Foxbody. So the first thing you want to do when you take a look at a Foxbody is you want to pop the hood, and you want to go under here and take a look at your strut towers. This car has the camber kit on it because I've got the coilover conversion, so it does look a little bit different. But what you want to be looking at here is the actual body of the car. Make sure that it's not bubbled out, make sure you have a good flat surface, and make sure it's not rusted through, because this is a key point where you're going to see a lot of rust. And if you're rusted through up here, that's going to be a deal breaker. That's very expensive to fix, and you're probably not going to want to deal with that. If you take a look over here, there's just a little bit of surface rust here that you can see. That's not really a big deal, but you definitely want to stay away from a car that's got holes rusted through it and it looks like it could fall apart at any moment, because really, if you hit a pothole and that thing breaks, and you're gonna have major issues, and it's not cheap to get fixed at all. That is your A pillars and your, I guess, whatever you want to consider the B pillar, but you want to look at your pillars and just make sure that they're nice and straight and even. There's no buckles on it. That's going to show you that the car is straight and that there's no major frame damage from an accident, and we're pretty straight on with the pillars. Now, this is not a European car. The tolerances are this car doesn't have tolerances, so your hatch may not line up great. Of course, you've got these major body gaps. That's normal. That's nothing really to be worried about. But you do want to make sure that the body lines of the car are all nice and straight, and you don't have any weird dimples or anything. Dents are something separate, but you want to make sure that it's not buckled in any weird areas. Alright, you're going to want to take a quick peek underneath the car. If you see this black beam right here with the mud on it, that's a subframe connector. If you happen to see that, that's a very good sign. That's not factory, but it shows you that somebody did care about the car at some point. And that makes the frame a little bit more rigid. As you can see here, the pinch welds are bent up. That's just from the car being jacked up a million times by somebody who didn't know what they're doing. It's not good, but it's not really bad. So there's not really too much worry about that. Also, up here, underneath the front corner of the car, when you get up underneath there, that's a major rust area. So you want to check that out and make sure your floor is not rusted out, because you won't really see that from the inside. You also want to come back here, check out your body right here. It's a major rust area, as well as back here. Take a look up underneath the bumper. Make sure that you don't have any major rust back here. The main thing you're really going to be looking for in these Foxbodies is rust. They're major rust buckets. They don't really hold up well over the years. So if you can find one that doesn't have these major rust spots, you're doing pretty good. Okay, so we're here underneath the rear, and if you look here where the old e-brake cable is sticking out, this is what's called a torque box. And if you're buying a car that's supposed to be making some power, these torque boxes can get jacked up if your car's making a lot of power. So just take a look under there, make sure there's no weird bends or cracks or anything weird looking with that. And the torque box is located directly in front of the rear wheel. All right, so before we get inside the car, you want to pop the door, and you can't really see by looking at it, but we're going to check the door hinges. So in order to check the door hinges, you might want to do it with two hands, but basically you just grab and you pull up on the door and see if there's any play on it, and the door will actually move up and down, and that's an indication that you have bad door pins. Again, not a deal breaker, but you definitely want to address your door pins, because if your door doesn't line up, you actually feel it when you close the door, and it actually feels like the door has to jump up in order to close. That's actually bad, because it can wear out the latching mechanism, and then one day you're going to go to close the door and it either won't close or you won't be able to open it again. And that's not really a good situation. So looking further inside the car, you want to look at the connection points as good as you can, where the seat actually connects to the body. That's another major rust spot. If your floor is exposed over here, you want to take a look down here and look for any major rust underneath the floor panels. Going inside the car, once you take a test drive, you want to make sure that you have nice smooth gear engagement in all of your gears as normal. One of the other things is when people want to sell a car, they always talk about, or people like to throw around the word world-class T5. There's really no difference between a world-class T5 and a regular T5 power-wise. It's just the world-class T5 was made for international sale. It's not an upgraded transmission, but people lead you to believe that. So if you want to know more differences about that, go ahead and look on Wikipedia. But there's a world-class T5 is not a specific upgrade. Don't let somebody try to tell you it's anything special, because it's not. All right, now obviously these aren't the factory seats, but on a car with the factory seats, you want to go ahead and sit in the seats, and this part towards the middle of the car, you want to check that, because that can kind of come loose, and when you sit in the car, you'll be gangster leaning, and that's not really cool. So they tend to sag here on the inner portion of the seat. The seat back will sag back, and your latch won't really work. So you don't really want a saggy seat back, and that's just something that tends to break on all the Foxbodies. Another hot spot is going to be your gauge cluster. Don't believe anybody when they tell you the mileage on a Foxbody, because it's probably not true. These gauge clusters are known for breaking, and they take about 10 minutes to change. Once you change it, there's no way to tell what the mileage is on the car. So even if somebody is trying to be honest with you, if they haven't owned the car from day one, there's really no way for them to really know what the mileage is on the vehicle. So pretty much don't believe anything about mileage. You're going to have to look at the car for yourself to determine what kind of condition it's in. All right, YouTube, thanks for checking out this video. Hope you learned something today, and if you have any questions on buying yourself a Foxbody, go ahead and leave us a comment or shoot us an email.